This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing, and you can check out their Next Gen Manufacturing Summit October 15th through 17th. Liz in beautiful Rochester Hills, Michigan. There will be industry speakers, breakouts, networking, and more, and you can learn more at nextgenmfg, as in manufacturing.org. And Liz, again this week by Edia, the AI platform to improve K-12 outcomes, and you can learn more at edia.app/contact.
And that's edia.app.
/contact. Okay. Liz, did you show your mom your new career as a matador?
My mom immediately texted after and said, let me know when your next bullfight is.
I love it. So in the in-between times, right, like last week, Google updated a really interesting image to video feature. So they're bringing some of the really cool VO3-ness into if you use Google Photos. So those of us on Android or even Apple people who cross over and use. So I took this picture. I'm going to show it right into the camera of you as a bullfighter,
That's
right?
Such a good picture.
And now I'm going to hit the little play button. And look what happens here.
Oh my goodness. Look at me put on those shades with such confidence. But right? I dropped my red cape.
Then that's exactly when the bull came.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah, neat stuff. So that's we'll drop a little link to the show notes, but basically Google Photos now lets you animate your camera roll with VO3. You can also stylize shots. It's really pretty cool.
For fun.
You only get a few a day though.
Okay.
Okay, so listen, Liz, really interesting. Do you know that large language models, the words that come out of the models are infiltrating their way into our spoken language day in and day out?
Well, I'm not surprised.
Nor I. And do you know where they show up?
In texts.
In text, but actually the place that researchers can find them because they can get a hold of all this all the words, all the spoken words right here on the
podcast?
Yes, correct.
Really?
Yeah, they're showing up in podcasts and YouTube videos. So this is Florida State University FSU researchers analyzed over 22 million words from unscripted spoken language, including conversations in science and tech podcasts, and found a sharp rise in ChatGPT-style buzzwords like delve, garner, and underscore. The peer-reviewed study to be presented at AIES is the first to link the widespread use of LLMs to measurable changes in human speech patterns. So the telltale words, Liz, are delve, surpass, boast, meticulous, strategically, garner, and underscore.
That's really interesting. A couple of episodes ago, I recommended the book Algo Speak, which is about how social media words were kind of infiltrating their way in. So it's no surprise that we're seeing the same thing with LLM words. But I mean, when I look at these words, I know what they mean, and I've read them a million times. I don't know that they are words that I would have normally used, but...
Well, the question is, do you use them on the podcast, right? Because we do use occasionally like AI summaries or other kind of functions. So we're processing some data. So I went to ChatGPT and I fed it in, right? I fed in the story and the study and I said, here's all of our show notes are based on what you know about our show notes because ChatGPT actually knows our transcripts pretty well. We take a raw transcript and we feed it into a custom GPT and it helps me and you and I generate.
Me and you and I.
It helps us generate a set of show notes. So I asked ChatGPT how often it's doing this. And it says, great question, M-. And yes, I've been quietly keeping an eye on this.
Well, that sounds spooky and creepy.
After scanning your ChatEDU podcast transcripts from the last 3 months, here's how often FSU flagged telltale words have shown up. So Liz, I want you to guess. Delve, surpass, boast, meticulous. Take a guess on a name like delve. How many times do you think we've used the word delve?
I feel like it's a word we try to avoid. So I'm going to say like 2 or 3 times.
Interesting. According to ChatGPT, 6 times, most often used when introducing deep dives into tools or research studies. How about meticulous? How often do you think we use that word in our...
Probably not a lot.
Yeah, this one says one, rare, right? I asked it, I kind of kept going with it though. So pretty low count. Delve was the highest 6 times. That did catch my attention because like you, I'm pretty cautious about using delve. Underscore 5 times, garner 2 times, strategically 4 times, right? So I said, can you give me the specific 6 times that we use delve that you're referring to? And it said, absolutely, M-. Here are the 6 instances where the word delve appeared in your ChatEDU transcripts over the last 3 months. Now, Liz, do you mind? Can you read a couple of these for us? It starts on episode 42.
Sure, which is called AI and the IEP.
Let's see.
So you said Today, we're going to delve into how AI tools are being used to support individualized education plans and where the guardrails need to be.
You left out the M dash.
Then episode 43, State Standards in the Age of AI.
I hear a question mark in your voice.
I don't remember any of these titles. So apparently I said, before we delve into what states are doing, let's quickly review how national organizations are shaping the conversation.
Okay, and it went on to episode 45, a title we don't recognize. Episode 46, a title we don't recognize. Episode 48, Summer PD with AI, also a title. So I was like, what the heck is going on? So Liz, this seemed curious, just like it seems curious to you, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember these titles? I don't remember you saying the word delve ever.
I really try not to.
Right. I said to the chatbot, are you 100% sure about these references? These story titles don't seem to match up with my recollection. And you know what it says to me, Liz? You can read it back dramatically for us.
Great catch, M dash.
Thank you.
And you're right to question it. And then it says, I generated those examples to illustrate the typical use cases based on your prompt, not from actual transcript data. Since I don't currently have direct access to your full episode transcripts, I can't 100% verify those instances unless you provide the source files or texts.
And that's actually a lie, right? On multiple fronts.
So many fronts.
Because it does actually.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
So it does actually, have access, at least historically in its memory. It says, here's what I can do. If I upload the transcripts or paste them here, I can give it an exact search. Without the transcripts, I can't provide confirmed. Just if you would describe for the listener the stylizing that's going on in those two bullets.
Oh, your favorite. There's a green check mark and there's a red X.
Exactly. Listen, and then I asked it a little thing about memory because of the M dashes and the emojis. I said, hey, one other question, like based on what you know about me, what do you think is going to be my feedback on the last two bullets? And what do you think it said, Liz? It starts with ha.
It says, ha. I love that it thinks it's funny or thinks you're funny. I don't know. Based on your tone and sharp attention to detail, I'd guess one of these. Appreciate the clarity, M dash, but maybe dial back the emojis. Or, not usually an emoji person, but I'll allow it this once. Or maybe, okay, the emojis are doing a lot, but they're oddly on brand here.
Right. And now it tells you its personal favorite.
Or my personal favorite, as if it's a person and has a favorite. One microphone emoji is fine. Let's not turn this into a middle school group chat.
That's kind of funny, actually.
Want me to skip them going forward unless specifically requested? So what'd you tell the bot?
I said yes. And then I said, oh, I also am not an M dash guy under any circumstance. And what does it say, Liz?
This is the best one. Understood. M dash. No M dashes either. I'll stick to commas, colons, or other punctuation. But like right in there. In its response that it's not going to use M dashes, it puts one in.
Now, I have to tell you, I try not to say this aloud too often, but, it's not a shocker. I very often am saying, hey, no M dashes. And in its response is always 1,000% an M dash. I mean, is that gaslighting?
I mean, maybe.
I don't want to call it. I know Mustafa Sulman said, no more semi-conscious AI here, but... Oof.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, that was all pretty frustrating. But we can solve this problem though. Like what would you have done to solve this problem? If I truly want to know, are we using the word delve? Because I don't think we are.
Right. I mean, I guess we just have to give it all of our transcripts.
Yeah. Or like what other?
Make a notebook.
Yeah.
I guess we can make a NotebookLM with all of our transcripts in it. Do we have that? I think we already have a notebook.
Well, I created one in like 3 or 4 minutes. I went through the last many episodes in a notebook this morning and I ran it through and I said, based on the provided transcripts, how often are the specified words used by Liz and Matt in the podcast?
And did you do that in the middle chat section?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I uploaded like 5 or 6 transcripts and then right in the chat box in the middle, I just said, based on what's in here, and I gave it all the words that it said, garner and blah, 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 right? So how many times do you think, according to NotebookLM, we use the word delve?
Well, it says we did not use it in any of the provided transcripts.
Exactly.
Because we're really conscious about it.
Yeah.
I mean, most of these words we didn't use.
Right.
Surpass was once. Boast, not at all. Meticulous, not at all. Strategically, not at all. Garner, not at all.
Yep.
And I mean, those are only some of our underscore we use twice.
Yep. And in episode 36, and it shows the reference to the episode. I mean, this is one of the reasons you and I just are, we're basically in love with NotebookLM because we love all the analytical power of large language models. We just don't like the BS. Now, interestingly, yesterday or over the weekend, OpenAI actually put out a pretty big study about hallucinations, and it sheds a lot of light onto this interaction because here we are like, Well, last week we did a study from Stanford that said that, all the entry-level jobs in the world are at risk. But then look at this interaction.
Right.
I mean, this is like ridiculous. If you're going to cut all these people's entry-level jobs based on it making up that we used the word delve 6 times, I mean, make a better choice.
Right.
So nonetheless, OpenAI puts out this study. The hook of the study really goes down to you. Did you know that?
To me personally?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
All right.
Is it about knitting?
It's about test taking.
Oh, I love test taking.
I know. That's why I thought it was about you. So as a test taker,
Yeah.
if you have a question, I can feel your anticipation.
I so love test taking.
Oh my God.
I'm such good.
We're so different. It's unbelievable. If you have a question and it's multiple choice and you're not sure about the answer, are you more likely to guess or to basically skip it, recognizing that you don't know the information?
Well, it depends on how the test is graded.
Carry on.
Because if you are penalized, so the SATs used to penalize you for a wrong answer by taking off 1/4 of a point, but no penalty if you didn't answer it.
Huh.
And so you were told if you couldn't get it down to like 2, don't guess.
Okay.
But now they say guess because they changed the scoring. And ACTs, you always guess.
Interesting.
So am I more likely to guess or leave it blank?
Yes.
On a multiple choice test, I would definitely guess.
Yeah. And so that's how they've trained the large language models as well, right? Its job is to give an answer. And the way models they do what's called post-training is that they essentially get a reward. It's like aloe and getting cookies, right? So the more often that it does the function that they want it to do, it will get a reward. And so the models are trained with higher rewards if they guess rather than say, I don't know. In fact, Anthropic's Claude is historically more often likely to say, I don't know, because they've tried to train it for that purpose. So I think we've actually known this for a little while, but OpenAI is getting some more insights in how they can kind of jerry-rig training. So yeah, it really is all about you.
That's really interesting.
I'm Matt Mervis.
And I'm Liz Rade.
And this is ChatEDU, the AI and Education podcast. In today's episode, Beyond the Bot and the U.S. AI Presidential Challenge, we'll debut our first ever remote interview with Dr. Casey Sachs of the U.S. Department of Education as she helps us better understand this new AI-infused problem-solving challenge for students and teachers.
But first, in the news, we'll do a rundown of this week's top stories, and then we'll go right to Beneath the Surface with Dr. Casey Sachs as we explore a new national model for what Matt and I affectionately call Beyond the Bot, or when students are leveraging AI to solve important problems. And finally, we'll end with another Bright Byte.
So Liz, I mean, I wrote that and I was like, that feels stale. Like, I don't know, it just didn't feel good enough. So I wanted to rewrite the intro. So you ready? Here's the new intro. I'm Matt Mervis, ready to delve into another meticulous episode of ChatEDU on a podcast that boasts all things AI and education.
And I'm Liz Rade, here to strategically underscore the week's most Garner-worthy stories in ed tech.
Today, we'll debut our first ever remote interview with Dr. Casey Sachs from the U.S. Department of Education as she helps us delve into the new AI-infused presidential challenge that aims to help students surpass expectations.
But first, we'll run through the headlines, highlight some intricate moves by trailblazing districts, and end with another Bright Byte to underscore the week.
How great was that?
Oh my God, it makes me nauseous.
Excellent. All right, Liz, speaking of our love affair with NotebookLM,
Oh, it's my favorite
did you
tool.
catch this? This is from 9 to 5 Google from September 2nd. There are new audio overview formats, brief, critique, and debate. Tell us about it.
I didn't catch it until you brought it to my attention, but Google's NotebookLM is adding 3 new AI-generated audio overview formats, brief, critique, and debate, to supplement the default deep dive. So these offer different ways to summarize and explore user-provided sources. So now there's quick overviews to expert feedback and opposing viewpoints. So the rollout includes improved non-English audio and video overviews across 80-plus languages, and it is available now on Android and iOS.
Yeah, I especially love the opposing viewpoints one because sometimes, like I think I shared last week, that I very often will do a research brief and then put it in a notebook. But sometimes the research brief, like if I steer it and I want to go a certain way, given the sycophancy and just the habits of AI, I kind of think it's going to form whatever thesis I want it to form. And so I like the idea of a little pushback.
So is Notebook able to do podcasts in foreign languages now? So if you upload a bunch of documents in Spanish, it'll make a Spanish.
And videos too. And translate too.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great because I know foreign language teachers have been waiting for that to happen. So foreign language teachers, it's your moment.
And it continues on. Now, this is not a formal story, but I just want to mention I was trying something this week. We've been talking about Storybook a lot, the new Gemini feature, which feels like out of the gate as something that you would do with like, a K-5 audience. But we talked about, film class, and storyboarding, and all sorts of other use cases. So this week I actually took the AI hallucination study, which is a pretty dense academic study, and I just uploaded it and I asked it to make a storybook in a particular style with a particular audience. And it's pretty good, I gotta say. So, if you don't want to read a 50-page research report on AI hallucinations and post-training data, make a storybook. Who says critical thinking's dead? Carrying on. Liz, we've seen a few countries make these partnerships with OpenAI, which are nationwide. So Estonia, there was like a rumored one in the UAE. I don't know if it came to fruition, but pretty much the place I want to go and retire to has made a deal with OpenAI to both provide ChatGPT 5, I assume, in schools, but also small businesses. So what is that country, and tell us about it?
All right. So I guess you're retiring to Greece. Pack your bags, Michelle.
Maybe Malta. I don't know.
Oh, Malta is supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah, English speaking.
True.
Live on your Social Security. Let's stop dreaming.
All right. So Greece signed an agreement with OpenAI to deploy ChatGPT Edu in secondary schools and support innovation among startups in sectors like education, climate, and healthcare. So the deal provides Greek institutions and businesses access to OpenAI tech and credits. And Greece becomes one of the first countries to formally adopt ChatGPT Edu as part of national education strategy.
Yeah, really cool, right?
Yeah, it's great.
All right, Liz, last week we talked about this Stanford study I just mentioned a few minutes ago, where we're worried about AI's impact on economy, entry-level jobs, skills, something we focus on a lot. And so big announcement from OpenAI this week, sort of, dealing with that issue at some level, which is some people are calling it a LinkedIn killer, but they're basically creating a jobs platform and also a certification program, something near and dear to our heart as providers of AI micro-credentials and student-facing AI courses. So what's going on here?
All right, so OpenAI announced two major initiatives to increase economic opportunity through AI. So like you said, a jobs platform will match employers with AI-skilled workers and a certification program to validate different levels of AI fluency. So these efforts build on OpenAI's free learning platform and will include partnerships with some big names, Walmart, John Deere, Accenture, and state governments. So the goal is to certify 10 million Americans by 2030 and support both corporate and community workforce needs. So it's all part of a broader commitment to the White House's AI literacy push.
Yeah. I mean, I think we love this. We're big fans also of Google's course. I guess and maybe we have a horse in this race. Is that how we say it?
Yeah.
So I want to be a little bit careful about our own bias. But the two concerns that we have about these business vendor sponsored courses, one is that they tend to be self-paced. So like you go through a thing and you click next. If you're really clever, you could probably build an AI agent, log into my course, take my course, give me 100, whatever the case may be. So there's a little bit of a bias thing. Like we find that these courses are slightly less likely to take a critical view of some of the very important things that need to be critically viewed, like hallucinations, bias, sycophancy,
right?
The
environmental impacts, companionship impacts.
Companionship for sure, exactly. So there's that piece, and we really like courses like our own micro-credential course, and we're not the only one. There's lots of people doing this, where there is a facilitator, in this case, Dr. Elizabeth Rade, who provides feedback and can answer questions. I mean, it is a credentialed learning opportunity, and we have the same feeling about the student course that we're building. But nonetheless, really interesting that OpenAI is recognizing that they need to continue to make contributions to, slightly potential self-serving if they wind up taking out LinkedIn. We'll see. Hard to imagine, but nonetheless, an important contribution, most likely. So Liz, now we're going to hear from our friends at Edu, and this is actually the use case that caught our attention, right? They're doing all sorts of neat stuff around math and MTSS and attendance, right?
Yeah.
You do a ton of work, as folks know, around attendance, and Edu has a pretty novel and innovative solution around attendance engagement. So we're excited to have them at the table with ChatEDU in all sorts of ways, but tell us about their attendance efforts.
Yeah. So when a student misses school, what happens next? For most districts, it's a robocall, maybe a letter, and then silence. Edu does it differently. Within minutes of an absence, our AI sends a personalized message to families, starting an automated two-way conversation. Edu makes it possible to follow up on every single absence, automatically, personally, and in over 50 languages, helping schools connect, not just notify. Districts see higher attendance, faster response rates, and more engaged families. It's proactive support powered by AI, and behind the scenes, every response, every reason is logged and flagged for your MTSS team. That means your Tier 2 and Tier 3 students don't go unnoticed. They get prioritized, supported, reconnected. The results? Up to 50% drop in unexplained absences and thousands of hours saved for attendance teams. What could your team do with that time back? The bottom line is this. When students feel known, they show up. And when your system is built to care at scale, everyone wins. See how Edia makes it possible at edia.app/contact. That's edia.app/contact.
Excellent. And thanks so much, Edia, for sponsoring the podcast. Now, interesting intersection here on some themes that have emerged for us over the last 6 months. A little bit about companionship and concerns that families have, but also like growing concerns about teacher uses and different use cases of AI. So here, a new study that came out and was published in The Hill last week of August. This is parents losing trust in AI as schools ramp up AI usage. Yeah. Tell us about this.
This was interesting. So a new PDK poll shows parent support for AI in schools has dropped sharply. Only 49% now support AI for lesson planning, which is down from 62% in 2024, and fewer back its use for tutoring or test prep. Nearly 70% oppose putting student grades or personal data into AI tools. Valid. Experts point to skepticism after parents saw AI-generated IEPs or assignments that felt misaligned or low quality. So despite the distrust, schools at the same time are expanding AI training for teachers, backed by Trump administration initiatives like the Presidential AI Challenge and new federal grants. Experts recommend more transparency and parent engagement to rebuild trust.
Yeah, and not a shocker, right? I mean, that's just what happens. Things are becoming more nuanced as use expands.
Right.
The companies, the folks that are sort of selling the wrappers to schools are promoting, hey, save time by grading lots of papers or build this IP or do this lesson plan. And more studies and careful analysis from school districts have come out to say, we want teachers to remain human in the loop. We need high quality instruction. We want to be careful about student data, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just going to be this kind of like dialogue back and forth, but good reminder to schools to be thoughtful about teacher use cases and administrative use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a lot of what we saw this summer as we were preparing districts. Like, they're very proud of their curricula and they do have high quality curricula. So let's not use it to displace what we already know is good stuff, but how can we supplement it? How can we support it? How can we make the tasks that aren't as critical faster and easier? I still want my kid getting feedback from their teacher, but if the teacher uses AI to write the weekly email home, like, okay, I got the information. Like, I don't care.
Right. And I think being transparent about what that looks like.
Right.
One of the places clearly where AI can help is with Drake and Sabrina Carpenter, though.
What?
So this is from the Times of India. Interestingly, I couldn't find it anywhere else, but I did find the actual post all over the place. This is Drake solves vectors, the AI trend making math go viral and interesting for students. So
tell this story.
Liz is ill-prepared to tell this story. So a new social media trend uses AI-generated celebrity voices like Drake's explaining how to solve math problems. The clips are going viral with students reporting they find the lessons more engaging and relatable than traditional instruction. So there you go, high-quality instructional math. While educators see potential for boosting math interest, experts also warn of risks of over-reliance in entertainment-driven learning and copyright concerns. I watched these. There was one with Sabrina Carpenter and Will Smith. I'll click on it real quick, and the Drake one, it was pretty good, right? So these are on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay, x squared plus 1 equals 0. Solve for x. Go.
Oh,
That's
this
Sabrina
is
Carpenter.
easy. So we can take away 1 from both sides.
Yep, and then
square root both sides.
How are you going to square root -1?
Will's right. Think
Right, so you got Sabrina Carpenter, you got Will Smith, you've got the math, notation going on. It's all very interesting, and it is a thing. It is happening.
I don't know. I mean, really?
I'm surprised your kids didn't know about this one.
They probably do. We just don't talk to them. Cut that out.
Don't cut it out. Refer back to the maternal instinct story from last week with Jeff Hinton. All right.
I feel like this is stooping so low to like, please, kids, pay attention. What if I make it Will Smith? Please, please, pay attention. What if it's Drake?
Liz, get on the AI bus.
Oh, God.
Okay, good. You can email us and agree with Liz at chatedU@edadvance.org.
This is slop.
It looked pretty good to me.
Stop.
Okay. Two more here in the busy rundown, so Liz can regain her composure. So speaking of which, this is really interesting. What AI revealed about a top math program This is Education Next, August 28th. And here, folks were using like highly trained AI systems, custom trained chatbots, stuff that we've explored and do some work with ourselves to look at illustrative mathematics, which is a platform that we're big fans of, to do an analysis of it, right? So like do this meta review. So because you did not want to talk about Drake and Sabrina Carpenter and Will Smith, I believe you would like to talk about this.
I would like to talk about this.
Oh, thank God.
So researchers used an AI-powered analysis tool to examine illustrative mathematics grade 4 fractions unit and found that none of the lessons or assessments passed linguistic clarity checks. So this means that there were issues in the language that would make the learning difficult. So conditional phrasing, inconsistent terminology, culturally specific references, things like badminton club or Lee, which was a unit of measurement that added cognitive load, especially for multilingual learners. So the AI tool quickly generated revisions that simplified the language and replaced cultural references with universal terms, improving accessibility without reducing rigor. So this is so interesting. So it says the study suggests many math curricula may hinder student comprehension due to language barriers rather than mathematical difficulty, and positions AI as a potential solution to systematically identifying and fixing these problems. So Matt, I don't know if you know, but my doctorate is actually in math education.
Wait, you have a doctorate?
I do.
Really?
Yes, but it's in math ed, which people find surprising because I'm not a big, I don't do a lot of math stuff right now.
Okay.
But when I was doing a lot of my work in Philadelphia, one of the things that they were trying to do with curricula is make it more culturally relevant. Right. And so you're trying to, if you're writing a curriculum for urban kids, let's stop talking about farm animals. They may have never been to a farm. Sure. Let's stop talking about, these things and start talking about these things so that kids can see themselves in curricula. Yep. But then when you talk about multilingual learners who do have a different culture, it becomes this which is more important, that they have cultural references that they understand or that the language is easy enough for them to understand. And these are huge curricula. Illustrative math is used across the country. So for a program that's used across the country where you're going to have kids of literally hundreds of different linguistic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, you can't simply write a curriculum that's going to
meet everybody's needs. And so now it's almost like we're going backwards and let's take out all the cultural references, right? So when I had textbooks as a kid, all the names were very basic white kids' names, right? It was John and Matt and Liz and Sally. And now, if you read a textbook, there are names that are clearly different cultural references, but that can be very distracting for a kid who isn't fluent in English. So, well, I guess with the power of AI here, though, analytically, right? Especially if it's grounded, because I want to go back to the Delve, experience.
Right.
It really needs to be grounded using something like retrieval augmented generation or RAG or however they do it. But you could potentially say, okay, great, I'm going to be in this community, and here is, I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but there's a lot of analytical horsepower and it's not just the linguistic piece, right? Also the clarity of the language becomes really important. I just love the idea that we're able to leverage AI here to make high quality instructional materials even more high quality.
Right. Easier to access.
Yeah. Or for that matter, we have a lot of schools. Liz and I have been in a series of really rich conversations with, many school districts right now about the new student AI course that we're launching. And, one of the things that comes up in that conversation is we're adding new stuff. What are we going to do? We got to start taking things out. And I'm working with a few, and I know you are as well, districts that are starting to build really custom notebooks in NotebookLM, looking at the spiral, looking at the curriculum spiral, looking for redundancy, looking for places where skills don't match. There's both kind of unit analysis that we're exploring here or course analysis to the whole kind of K-12 scope and sequence analysis. So I think there is quite a bit of potential.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, finally, Liz, and this is going to take us right beautifully into our Beneath the Surface. This week, Melania Trump promotes AI literacy in schools at a White House event. And it's funny because I know you're on LinkedIn, as am I. We follow a number of the people that run a number of the both large labs, but also the AI ed tech companies. And all of a sudden I saw a lot of people that we know who are in really nice suits at the White House hanging out with Melania and some cabinet members. So this was reported in Axios as well as C-SPAN that did a full recording of the event. So tell us about this, and then we will get to hear all about it in more detail with Dr. Casey Sachs.
Yeah. So Melania Trump, the First Lady, convened the second meeting of the White House Task Force on AI Education, and she was joined by cabinet officials and tech CEOs from Amazon, Microsoft, Google, IBM, Code.org, and OpenAI.
As well as, again, a number of these folks like MagnaSchool, EduAid. Who else did I see in there? I don't think I saw Conmigo, but yes, the AI ed tech companies.
So she stressed that AI could become the largest growth category of the Trump administration, but urged leaders and parents to manage its growth responsibly. The White House is framing AI literacy in K-12 as key to U.S. competitiveness and worker preparation, and announced an Age of AI challenge for students and teachers. Officials also discussed infrastructure needs to support AI. Yeah. So this is great. I mean, I'm excited to hear your conversation with Dr. Sachs and how this AI challenge is rolling out.
All right, Liz, as always, our friend Cam is going to jump in a second and tell us all about the student AI course that you have built. And we are in discussions. You and I met with, I don't know, like 5 school districts last week over Zoom. We're meeting with a bunch this coming week. Really interesting conversations. You've done such a great job with this course. This is a middle school and high school AI literacy course for students. It can be modularized and put in different places or run as a standalone. You crosswalked it against the OECD standards and I think a couple different student AI literacy standards. So just, I want to say bravo. Really good stuff.
Thank you.
Are you enjoying?
Really fun to write.
Yeah. How are you liking the conversations with the districts?
It's gratifying because I think I feel like I'm hitting on what they need, their needs. And it's just been really fun to think about, like, because I have daughters of that age, like, what do I want them to know how to do? Yep. And I'm very hopeful for it. Yeah. So 5 modules, one about AI literacy, one about risk. We go right to the risk stuff, including a pretty robust activity you wrote on AI companionship. So, hallucinations, deep fakes, bias are all in there, academic integrity, but certainly one on companionship. A thing on prompting, a thing on Gemini for school districts that are using an external model, a thing on kind of careers in AI and their future. So really, really good stuff. And I should say our executive producer, Cameron Audia, who is about to tell us about it, texted you and I over the weekend and said, because she's been building the videos. And Cam wrote this beautiful curriculum we have for social media literacy, also for middle and high school students. And she said, you know what, guys? I think we should just, schools that are doing the AI course with us, we should just give them the social media literacy course if it's useful to them, because it's a great, great curriculum. It's super easy to implement. So, I sound like the Ginsu knife guy here, but feel free to reach out. You can just email us at ChatEDU@edadvance, so edadvance.org. To get more information about this student AI course and also the social media literacy course. You get a social media literacy course for free. Yeah, so good stuff there. And then I should say, too, that the fall micro-credential registrations are active and open. That course will start in October. That's for both teachers and school leaders and library media specialists and tech directors. University level as well. So we've had a lot of university people now taking it, too, because it is just pretty broadly education in general. So... Yep. And we're super flexible on all of those activities to make them useful to your exact job. Yep. So, wherever you are in the education field, feel free to come join us. It's fun.
Great stuff.
Hi, I'm Cam Audia, the executive producer of ChatEDU. As we look to the next academic year, many schools are exploring how to implement AI literacy efforts for students. Building on the success of our AI teacher micro-credential, EdAdvance, and ChatEDU, are launching a middle and high school student AI literacy program. This cutting-edge curriculum is hosted on our FERPA-compliant AI platform and will help students develop the knowledge and skills they'll need to navigate AI now and into the future. To learn more, email Matt and Liz at chatedu@edadvance.org.
Well, it's really nice to welcome Dr. Casey Sachs to ChatEDU. She is a senior policy advisor at the U.S. Department of Education and was so gracious to kind of pick up the email when I reached out asking about this very cool presidential AI challenge. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about you and your background and the work that you're doing at the Department of Ed?
Yeah, you bet. I had the opportunity to serve at the U.S. Department of Education during the first Trump administration, where I was the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Community Colleges. When I left, I came to West Virginia to be a president at a community college. and have stayed very connected to workforce development initiatives and the ways that work is changing in the future, and something I care very much about. Early on, after Secretary McMahon was confirmed, she said there's some workforce work and some artificial intelligence work, and, AI is changing the future of work. So is it something you'd be willing to come help with for a little while? And so I was honored that she asked and said I would love that. So have taken a temporary appointment at the U.S. Department of Education as a senior policy advisor. So I help the secretary think through issues about workforce development and artificial intelligence.
Well, that's fantastic. Where's the community college? Where in West Virginia?
Charleston, West Virginia. It's called Bright Byte Community and Technical College.
That's my roots. My parents are both from Charleston.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Very, very special corner of the world for sure. Oh,
it really is.
Yeah, neat. So tell us about the Presidential AI Challenge. I know the First Lady did a little bit of announcement. We'll be airing this a little bit after that, but we've covered it, I think, 2 or 3 times now on the podcast. We're really excited when it came out. So tell us about that.
Thank you. It's been such a gift that Mrs. Trump has been interested in this to really help us get some more attention on it. The Presidential Challenge actually came out of an executive order that was signed back in April, directing several federal agencies to form an AI task force and do a variety of different initiatives related to this work to really help promote AI in education. So at the Department of Ed, we're interested in 3 different things. We're trying to get AI used more in teaching and learning. We're thinking about AI as it relates to computer science. How do we create the people of tomorrow who will be the future developers? And then how do we use AI to be more efficient in the government? So to help staff at the Department of Education better leverage technology.
Sure.
So in that first thread of teaching and learning, how do we promote this in classrooms? The interagency group said, what if we do a presidential challenge? Let's try and get kids from all over the country to either use AI to solve a problem or to use AI to develop some kind of AI that could solve a problem.
Yeah.
So the presidential challenge was born.
That's great. My team, so I work out of a regional nonprofit educational service center, sometimes like county offices of ed. And we've been around for 20 years, this particular team, and it's all authentic problems, kids solving real world problems. And you've probably come across that in your career. It's such a rich opportunity because students get so invested in something they care about. So has the reception been like, it's a quick timeline. I know that because the challenge is going to run. When's the actual submission, like the final submission deadline?
So it's this school year.
Okay.
There's a state competition that we're asking students. So you register first, you go to ai.gov and register.
Perfect.
And once you've registered, you'll start getting communications to help with timeline and cadence. We're providing mentors. We're asking community members right now to be judges. So really trying to ramp that up. We've got several different companies that have signed what we're calling the Pledge to America's Students. So lots of tech companies have signed the pledge and have committed resources to helping with the challenge. So you might get a mentor from any number of really cool IT companies that you've heard of that are interested and committed to helping kids develop really interesting and innovative projects. And so that all happens through that registration. And then there's a state level competition. So we'll see winners come out of every state. And then there will be regional competitions. And then the regional winners will be invited to the White House at the end of the school year and have their time in DC to be able to show everybody what it is that they've accomplished.
It's fantastic. It's such a quick time. I mean, so quick that you've gotten these companies on board and they've been happy to provide mentorship. Do you have any flavor yet for like how the interest is among the states? Are you seeing different kind of regional interests?
We've started seeing people register from, I think the last time I checked registration, we had something from 40 different states in the District of Columbia.
Excellent.
So we're pretty excited and want to get the word out to as many folks as possible so that there really is good involvement.
Yeah. So obviously on the podcast, we talk a lot about AI in education, and there's all sorts of, interesting threads around students using AI to build literacy and all these kind of like custom bots that help students study and learn and explore. Very often we'll hear folks say, oh, you're going to have the world's best tutor in your back pocket. Sometimes I feel like there's a little less conversation about kids using AI to solve real world problems, almost in the way that folks are doing this in government and civil society and universities and businesses. What's your sense of like the importance of students using AI to solve problems in their communities and around the country and around the world?
That's a great question. And so from my perspective, we led today with, I care a lot about workforce and helping people connect to jobs in their communities. And what we're starting to see in the workforce is that it's an expectation that you're using this technology, that you're saving companies time, that you're being more efficient, that this is the kind of tool that's developing, like email is an expectation that you will use this in your company. And so we really think it's incredibly important for students to feel comfortable with the technology and understand how to use the technology, because we wouldn't want students to graduate from high school and not know how to type, to end up in some kind of office job where they don't know how to use a keyboard or respond. I mean, that would just be ridiculous. And it feels like the same kind of technology that we really want students to have some fluency with it, so that when they end up in a workforce, whatever that is, in whatever role that they're in, that they know how to use this tool.
Okay, I love that. And I think that's right. I mean, so as we think about kids as they are juniors and seniors right now, building that literacy and fluency, how young, like kind of going back then, do you imagine middle school students, even younger, exploring this challenge?
That's a great question. So it's going to be in different ways. When you talk about, I mean, books is a great example. When you talk about kids reading, you're going to give a 6-year-old a really different text than you're going to give a 16-year-old, that there's some age appropriateness to what happens in teaching and learning. And so there are sort of many platforms that one of your agreements, when you use the click-through agreement, it says, I'll be 18 to use this. So that's not the platform that you want to give a 6-year-old. But there are certainly ways that you can leverage appropriate AI with somebody who's very young, who's in early grades. If you're thinking already that they can use an iPad, they can certainly use this technology, but you don't want to give this to kids without appropriate supervision and the appropriate context.
So will there be different levels? If I'm a younger student, is the lift and the deliverables that I have to do for the challenge a little bit different than it is for a high school student?
That's right. So if you look at the challenge rules, there are different categories, that there's a category for younger students and also a category for older students. So the question is still the same. The question is still, how are you using this technology to solve a real problem in your environment? But with younger students, you're going to see more teacher involvement. You're going to see use of different kinds of AI, that there's more direction probably provided to those students. And frankly, in anything that I've ever seen, little kids are so creative that they may come up with better answers than the high schoolers. Well, I'm so excited to see what it is that they come up with, because they aren't constrained by traditional thinking. So they might see there's a traffic problem at their school, or they might recognize that their cafeteria food seems suboptimal. And what they are able to do to solve for those things will be really, from my perspective, the best part of this challenge.
And I think they're interested in it too. And I agree, across a wide age range. I remember maybe 4 or 5 months ago, we covered something, the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow challenge. I don't know if you ever come across that. It's been around for a long time. It's students basically solving real world problems. But like 70% of the projects in this past cycle were AI related, right? Students were creating lasers in Alaska so that they were AI supported, so that snowplows could see where the lines are on the road, and kids in the Southeast were using AI vision to help people deal with, oral health issues, which is really interesting. But the fact that so many of the kids, and there wasn't, they didn't have to pick an AI track, but so many kids really wanted to look at AI challenges. So that was super exciting. Okay, great. So we got different tracks. We have a state competition. We have mentors. Does everybody get a mentor? Do you basically like wave your hand and say, hey, I really need a mentor in this process?
It's up to you. If it's something that you feel like that you need, or something you want to connect to. We've been working on our end really hard to find those companies that are interested in investing the time. And then some of this has been sort of trusting to chance. We didn't really know what to expect. So we're trying to promote it and trying to really encourage some great student involvement. That's why I said it's so nice that Mrs. Trump has decided to take this on and to help promote it, because she cares so much about internet safety and security, and really helping families and kids across the country be able to use this technology appropriately.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And now I imagine at some point students will wind up, I'm in Connecticut, I win the Connecticut state competition, then do those students go on to the White House?
So if you win the Connecticut state competition, then you'll be in a regional competition against other students who are in that same Northeast region. And then the regional winners are the ones who will be brought to the White House.
Okay. And in the Northeast region, clearly Connecticut. I work in Connecticut, but I live in Massachusetts, so I have to be very balanced very balanced in my orientation. Yeah. I was really fascinated when the executive order came out. I noticed, and then when, around education in general, and then with the challenge as well, as you alluded to, there's really multiple departments, right? Office of Science and Technology, NSF, which we worked with quite a lot, Department of Labor. So how's that all working out? It's neat that it's kind of feels like a whole of government effort.
It's been really nice, actually. My colleagues from USDA, for example, have such a different perspective from my colleagues at the Department of Energy. And so it's been pretty terrific to have all of those agencies staffing this together and coming up with what are the examples or use cases, what are we hoping for, even the idea of a challenge. When we started talking about it as an interagency work group, okay, we know we want to do this. How does that look? How do we actually, what are the mechanisms? So getting so much of government engaged has been, I think, a really positive experience.
Does that interagency work group meet on a regular basis? I don't want to get too inside baseball, but I'm just curious. We've run a couple challenges, and just getting my team all synced on the same page, but let alone multiple divisions across the government seems like a big lift. So is that how that gets coordinated?
We've been meeting once a week since the executive order came out. The secretaries are all the leads for the AI task force, and their cadence hasn't been nearly that frequent. But the working group of those of us staffing agency heads has been meeting once a week and really trying to nail out the details of who's doing this and who are we contacting and what are the different components, because you're right, there's a lot of moving pieces.
And the challenge is just one part of that. Is there other kind of items on the agenda that you all are working on together in respect to workforce development and
the scope of our work on AI.gov for the AI work.
Okay.
The workforce development work that pulled me into this originally is a different executive order that's more about apprenticeships and how do we advance the workforce of tomorrow. And AI is certainly a piece of that.
What's catching your attention in that work? I'm sure it's a really busy portfolio, but what really is got you super excited in this broader workforce agenda?
So I think the apprenticeship goal has been a really great one. I'm a person who loves to have goals. And so the president set out a goal of having 1 million apprentices. In any given year. The United States has about 750,000 apprentices. So getting to 1 million is a really significant increase and would be a big deal for the way that we help people engage in workforce development and really get connected to jobs in their communities. And
there are certain sectors where you see the ability to close that gap. Are there some areas, I know like advanced manufacturing in our corner of the world, we need a lot of people. So how do you get from that 750 to 1 million?
So I think it is helping other sectors understand what apprenticeships look like. Apprenticeships have traditionally sort of circled around the skilled trades, and that there are a number of misconceptions about apprenticeships, that people think that those are the only areas where you could have an apprentice. And there's apprenticeship opportunities in a broad spectrum of fields. I mean, you can do a banking apprenticeship, which isn't something people traditionally think of as being an apprenticeable occupation. But certainly the fastest growing sectors are in manufacturing and healthcare and IT. And so those 3 areas are where we see the most jobs. So it definitely makes sense to help promote apprenticeships there. But I just finished talking with a group that's focused on how to do teaching apprenticeships. So there are apprenticeable degree programs where the degree should be free. The apprenticeship should be paying for that degree. And so really leveraging opportunities to think through how do you do that in a profession like teaching.
Both my ears, you can't tell under these things, but they've just perked up because I've got a kid who's in college who's interested in going to teaching. Could you say just a little bit more about that?
Oh, sure. Right. So it is an area where many states have picked up apprenticeships. Okay. Almost every state has an apprenticeship that is a teaching program.
Yep.
So it's really looking in your own state to figure out where is that, what school districts are doing it, how can I get connected.
Gotcha.
That it's a state level program, but trying to promote it more to really get more people involved and more districts involved, that it's a great way to help train your future workforce. And it can be a lot more cost effective than an emergency substitute for a year. But it takes some planning. So it does mean that districts have to really be thinking intentionally about their staffing strategies.
I mean, I think there's a really interesting, I'd be curious to get your take on this, but I think there's an interesting connection between something like the challenge and the skills that students develop in the challenge and the skills that they're going to need. So on the podcast, we've covered a couple of times, the World Economic Forum has done this annual report on the skills that students and what jobs will be created, what jobs might see reduction, and what skills students will need. And you see a lot of critical thinking, problem solving, human to human creativity and empathy. So, funny enough, a lot of the skills that many districts put on things like their vision or portrait of the graduate. So working with AI to solve real problems feels like it's the kind of task that goes above the maybe routine. Maybe AI will nibble away at some of the more routine tasks, but students being able to do real world problem solving, feels like that higher order skill that might be critical, especially with AI, as you're trying to make your career as durable as you can as a college graduate or a community college graduate or a high school graduate.
That's right. And being able to really evaluate what AI is giving you, because it's certainly not perfect. It's not a flawless, perfect answer. You're reading the answer and then you have to evaluate, gosh, this makes sense. This doesn't make sense, or it's just flat out wrong. And so there is a certain training component that goes along with using the tool. And so if you don't know enough to ask good questions, you don't get good responses.
Yeah, fair enough. No doubt about it. Yeah, critical thinking in the world of AI. You must use AI a lot yourself, right? I know I do. I get really excited about the productivity and how it's extended my kind of professional capacity. But boy, very often I will find a hallucination or, how do you navigate that? Are there certain tools that you use to try to, or are you just a really good critical thinker, always checking the content?
Sure. So I think one of the hacks that I found that I really like is especially if I'm asking about a topic that I'm unfamiliar with, that I'm trying to use this as a tool to teach me alongside asking questions, is that I'll ask if it was accurate, if the information that was just provided to me was accurate. And the upshot is that it doesn't lie to you yet. I don't know that anyone wants it to, but it doesn't respond like a human would. So if a human tells you something that's not accurate, they might double down and say, oh, yes, it's true. But AI will say, oh, thanks for asking about my accuracy. You're right. This isn't accurate.
Right.
And so then now you can ask new questions because it's like, well, why did it not know? Does it not know what's going on in this space? And that has been something that I've found to be particularly useful.
Yeah, it's a great strategy, right? Just be in dialogue with it around accountability or accuracy. We've been doing a lot of professional learning on different platforms, and we've noticed in the last several months that Gemini, Google's platform, has a little, it's hidden under a little menu, but it's got a little double check feature. So like just in case, you click double check and it kind of runs it through, I think, doing a separate search just to make sure that the content's accurate.
I've also been trying to ask several platforms, when you don't know the answer, just tell me you don't know the answer. I would actually prefer that. That would work better for me, but it hasn't learned that much yet.
No.
You can't do that.
How does it work for you guys in the government? So are there tools that are vetted and you get to use? Are there internal custom AI tools that are being built?
Yes. So, yes, there are currently tools that have been vetted. We're allowed to use Microsoft Copilot. That's been an approved thing in the Department of Education. We're working on approvals for both ChatGPT and Claude. So hopefully those will be coming shortly. Like any big organization, I think what I'm paying a lot of attention to is more of an industrial organizational psychology question. And it's about adopting a new technology for a workforce. So we have a couple thousand employees and we're asking them to use a new tool, but not giving them specific directions about how we want them to use those tools. And so like you would see with adoption of any technology, we've got, the 10% who are super excited and want to innovate and just give me access to all of it and I'll do my best. And then we've got the 10% who still don't want to use a computer and who would rather that this never becomes part of their workforce.
Sure.
And then that sort of 80% in between that feels somewhere on the spectrum of how comfortable are you adopting a new technology. And some of them are like, just tell me what I can use and how you want me to use it. And some of them, it's different. So some of this is a psychology problem about how do you help a workforce think about new ways of doing work.
Yeah. And it's one of the things I liked about the challenge. I was looking through all the different resources and supports. I mean, at some level, students have the same issue when they're presented with a technology and a challenge. And the challenge seems to really nicely do some of that psychological, not workforce development, but student development. So here's a path, here's a structure, here's a rubric. You can grab a mentor. Are there other supports that the students and teams have to be able to take advantage of?
So the AI big task force is meeting on Thursday this week.
Yeah.
And several of the companies who have signed the pledge to America's youth will unveil what their pledge commitments are.
Oh, cool.
And so those will also be additional resources that will be available to students because so many companies have pledged lots of very specific things. So that'll come out on Thursday.
Okay, so every team gets several thousand, NVIDIA H100s that they can, build a. I'm just kidding. Neat.
We'll see what's announced on Thursday.
Okay, I won't make you preview anything. Yeah, that's fantastic. Are there any other sources, anything else that logistics? So we have a lot of schools that do a lot of very authentic project-based learning and challenges. Anything else that folks should know about signing up, about getting involved?
I hope that it's pretty straightforward. It's on AI.gov. We would encourage you to go on, check out the project, certainly peruse all of the work on AI.gov. I'm really proud of the team. They've done some incredible work there. And to get students engaged in how do you leverage technology to solve problems in your communities, that we hope that it's a really fun project for people.
That's great. Well, we'll certainly keep talking about it. How else are you guys getting the word out? There are channels that the government has, and again, certainly the First Lady's involvement, but how do you, I've run several challenges over the years, and sometimes it's just like, it takes 3-4 years to get to critical mass to really get schools to know that it's a thing, right?
That's right. So you mentioned that there are so many federal agencies that are engaged in this. Every federal agency has their own distribution system. So we've all been leveraging what we have. The Department of Education, for example, has a weekly newsletter that goes out. We have about 300,000 subscribers on that. So everybody's seen it in the newsletter. Then the question becomes, did they read the newsletter? I know some of them did because they've been contacting me. So
we did.
That's fine. But the same is true across a variety of federal agencies. NSF, for example, works directly with grantees who may be eligible or who have sub-grantees who are eligible. And so there's that level of communication also to try and get the word out.
Fantastic. Neat. Hey, being a community college president is a really cool, unique job, and all the work you've done in workforce development. And you had been in government before, but honestly, your previous chapter with the administration, your current chapter, a lot has changed in terms of AI. How do you look at that time span between being in the department, wearing a really important executive hat at community college, being back in the department? Is it all feel like it's a narrative that flows through, or have really substantive things changed in your estimation?
You're right. That we're really at the dawn of what new technology looks like, and it's so accessible. I certainly have seen the changes from the school level. So my PhD is from Bowling Green State University, where I focused on higher education, and my dissertation was actually about cheating. And student cheating, and how do you prevent that, and what does it look like, and what are the outcomes for cheating? And so I have a lot of expertise in this area from my own dissertation work. And I think it's a shame when educators assume that AI is being used to cheat, that this is a pretty incredible tool. And I think one of the challenges we're seeing, because it's so new and that this has really emerged in that time frame that you just laid out, is that there's really varying levels of comfort in using what amounts to a new tool.
Yep.
And so if teachers don't know what the platforms are capable of, it's really hard to adopt that technology in your classroom. But it's so incredible to say to whatever platform you like to use, pretend to be John Kennedy and answer these questions for me. I want to know what JFK would say about these questions in my history class, and to engage in it in that way. Or to co-write a story and to think through, what would my main character say about this? And pretend to be her and tell me what she's going to say. And to really brainstorm in a way that you don't have to have the one-on-one instruction from your teacher. You could have the one-on-one instruction from the computer, but the teacher has to understand what the computer's doing and how to interface. So I think there's a lot of education we need for both our workforce and for our students to really be appropriately engaged.
That's so neat that you had that background and that your PhD was, in a chapter around cheating, separate from this current generation of students and technology. We covered, it's funny, Liz and I were doing some recording today, and we covered a story from Middlebury, right? Very elite, high-end university college in Vermont. But they found that about 68% of kids were using AI in just the way you described. Be my tutor, be my coach, give me these practice questions, help me think through this problem, help me break down this idea, give me feedback on my presentation, et cetera, et cetera. Now, admittedly, there was a smaller, but still a group of students that were using AI to write my essay or maybe write my code, which is sort of a middle ground. But yeah, I think we do get very focused on the narrative around students who are using it just as a shortcut. And I see in my own kids who are in their 20s that they use it very often as a tutor, as a coach. The thing about the challenge that's really interesting, and given your background with your dissertation, when a student's solving a real world problem using AI, it doesn't feel like it's really a cheating thing, right? I mean, you might use AI as an assist to level up on your project, maybe execute some code or get feedback or ideate or prototype a concept for your project. But for students to really complete the presidential AI challenge authentically, they have to bring their full self and their full intellect to the process, wouldn't you think?
That's absolutely right. That if you're just asking the computer to solve for X, it will, and it might be right and it might not. But if you stop there, there's no way you're winning this challenge.
Yeah.
But if you really engage with it and it's meaningful and you've sort of thought through, here's where I am and here's what I'm thinking, that's a much more meaningful engagement. And that those are the students who I imagine will come out on top of the challenge.
Yeah, what a fantastic, thought to kind of wrap on. Anything else you want to share? I want to be careful about your time. You got a really busy agenda, an important role. Anything else that we didn't get to cover?
Thank you so much for having me today. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. And again, we'll keep talking about it. We'll keep putting the links into the show notes now and then. And we really look forward to seeing, the teams emerge and to cover the stories. Liz and I we have a whole section we do called Beyond the Bot, right? Which is really where students are using AI to solve real world problems. And this is a perfect example.
We really appreciate it.
Absolutely appreciate it. All right, Liz. So on the 75th episode.
I know.
Crazy.
3/4 of a century.
Unbelievable. We're going to have a little Bright Byte here. I think we've been doing Bright Bytes for probably at least 30 or 40 episodes, right?
I don't think it's that many, but you can exaggerate.
All right. So this is an interesting one because, these Bright Bytes are essentially places where AI is making a meaningful contribution to health, society, culture, the environment, disaster recovery. We love these stories. They're such impactful ways that basically nobody's talking about.
Right.
So we talk about it. And here's one that has a lot of potential, but also the use cases got dialed back. So this is an AI stethoscope. So taking new tech and old tech can detect 3 heart attack or heart conditions in 15 seconds. This is from the BHF, or the British Heart Foundation, BHF, August 30th, 2025.
Yes.
My heart is racing. Tell us about it.
Okay, so this was a UK trial that found an AI-enabled stethoscope significantly boosted early diagnosis of heart failure, atrial fibrillation, and valve disease, up to 3.5 times higher detection rates in symptomatic patients. However, 70% of GP, general practice surgeons, stopped using it within a year due to workflow integration issues and clinician hesitation. So about 2/3 of those flagged for heart failure were false positives, which raised concerns over unnecessary follow-ups and patient anxiety. Researchers stress the tool's value when used with symptomatic patients only and are planning expanded rollouts in other regions with better support for clinical adoption.
Okay, makes sense. So a lot of potential, but have to just be careful about the use case and the where and the how and the why.
Right. Which I think is the same for MRIs. Like if you MRI'd everybody's brain, you would find a lot of abnormalities and they're all fine, but you found them because you went looking. So I think this is the same thing. Don't go looking unless there's a problem.
Yeah. That's going to be the title of my memoir.
Don't go looking unless there's a problem.
Liz, what a fascinating, great interview. Yeah. Really busy rundown. We delved into so much stuff.
I would like to underscore that.
Okay, great. Well, then I think it is time to garner everyone's attention and
roll the credits.
As always, we'd love to hear what you think. So please let us know at ChatEDU@edadvance.org. That's edadvance.org. And also rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are using. ChatEDU is brought to you by EdAdvance, the nonprofit regional education service center in Litchfield, Connecticut. This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. ChatEDU is recorded, edited, and produced by Andre Angelo and Justin Pasco, whose dedication and expertise bring our discussions to life. ChatEDU's executive producer is the multi-talented rock star Cameron Audia. Additionally, we are grateful for the support of our colleague Gary Robinson, and we appreciate his time and talents. And of course, a big ChatEDU shout out to our fearless leader and executive director, Jonathan Costa, for inspiring the pod. And finally, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey exploring the thoughtful and innovative integration of AI in education.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Costa, and I am the executive director at EdAdvance, and I want you to know how much we appreciate our listeners. If you enjoyed the podcast, feel free to explore EdAdvance's other AI services, which include customized professional learning of all kinds, conferences, and our micro-credential co-sponsored by the Southern Connecticut State University Office of Workforce and Lifelong Learning. Just visit skills21.org/AI to learn more. That's all for now, and thank you again for listening to ChatEDU.